strategic offense. How do we play physical offense? Because let's be clear that right now, I think most of us are playing physical defense. Like, oh, okay, that's not organic. You know, I'm like, you get where I'm going? That's not organic. And so we're kind of trying to figure it out. And I think that's more like we've been like playing defense. Like, okay, maybe am I supposed to do this or that? And it's like it's in the moment, right? It's in the grocery store making a decision. Like, that's defense. Let's be clear. Like, they got their strategy. We're already a little behind. How do we, and we're going to talk about that, right? How do we play emotional offense? Especially in a world where the media is emotionally manipulating us. By the way, the strategic weapon they use is fear. And then once they overload you with fear, you can't think straight. Now you're reacting from a place of fear. That's not the best place for us to be reacting. Not the best place for us to be moving in the world, right? And by the way, when you are overcome with fear, as many of us are, let's be clear. Many of us, if you sit up and watch the news, like it is like just doused in fear. I mean, it's 75% fear, if not more, maybe 90% fear. It is hard to sit there and not feel your blood pressure rise. Like, Lord, what am I? Like, television literally killing us. So then how do you play emotional offense in an environment like that? Because most of us are playing emotional defense. I'm going to tell you how I know, because after you watch the segment, you get up from the couch and you go, whew, right? Like they took you out. Like, you're not, at that point, that sigh is defense. They took you out. How do we get to a point where we're playing mental offense? Mental offense. I also believe that part of mental offense is not even watching the news. Like, I'm too busy creating my mental strategic plan to be trying to, learn or allow you to emotionally manipulate me. And then last but definitely not least, spiritual offense. I think sometimes what happens to us spiritually is we find ourselves overwhelmed emotionally, physically, and mentally, right? And then that's when we try to tap in spiritually. Again, we're reacting. I need it. Like, I mean, I'm guilty. I need help right now, right? That's the prayer. Right now, Lord. Right now. Right now. Right? And it's like, man, what if I had tapped in a week ago? You get where I'm going? Like a month ago. What if I lived tapped in? Like, then what? Then what? So that's what I want to talk about. These 4 areas where we should be playing strategic offense for successful living. If I intend to live a life of patient urgency, where I'm making what needs to happen, then I'm living like I'm playing a different type of offense. So as I began thinking about this offense, I was in a conversation with my son, and Let me tell this story real quick before he wakes up. Then he'd be like, why were you talking about me on the radio to all those people? You know, he gets a little embarrassed. And so it's like Thursday night. My son is like emotional about going to school. And as a parent, I'm like, what's going on, man? Like, why you don't want to go? I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to that school anymore. Then he starts saying, I'll go to any other school. Like, well, me and mom got you in this school, man. It's a great school. What's happening at school that has you to not want to go, right? Like, as a parent, like, I'm listening to him. I don't want to just shut him down. Why don't you want to go to school? And he's like, I don't want to say it. You're going to think it's not that big of a deal. And I'm like, no, man, you can tell me anything. Because, as parents, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always, I want to know everything. And I'm always suspicious about what I don't know, right? Like, is there something I don't know? Like, is there something you need to tell me? And so I'm like, hey, man, for real, it's just me and you. And, he kept looking at his mom. So I'm like, get out of here. I'm getting her, like, get her out of here. She looking, oh, boy, she wants to be in it, right? But I'm like, man, let him talk to me, So she leaves the room, and it's just me and him. He starts crying. I'm like, dude, what's up, man? And he's like, Dad, my friends are making fun of me. I said, oh. Now, as you can imagine, it's like I got a little bit of relief. I'm like, oh, that's it? That's all? Okay, we can rock with this, right? So he's like, my friends are making fun of me, and, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I said, well, what are they making fun of you about? He's like, because one of the girls in the classroom likes me. I don't want anybody to like me, right? So I'm like, okay, that's not true, man. You want people. No, I don't want anybody to like me. So I can tell he's having an emotional reaction to, like, the emotional bullying that his friends, who, by the way, are likely jealous. Let's be clear, right? Like little boys, like, oh, she likes you. Like, we don't know what, when we were little boys, we didn't know what to do with all that, all those feelings. Oh, she likes you. So, and he doesn't like that, because those are his boys. So then he's like, I don't want to be liked. It's like, no, you want to be, you want girls to like you. I promise you, like in the next 10 years, it's going to be really important, right? So anyway, we have this conversation. And this is what gets me to today's topic. Because as I was having a conversation with him, I realized that this might be a conversation that many of our parents skipped. So now we're living in this reactive world versus this world where we play mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual defense. Like, but offense is what I meant to say. Like mental, emotional, physical, spiritual offense. I'm tired of the conversation about defense. I'm tired of the reactiveness. It's not working. Most of us are reacting when it's too late. Anyway, back to my son. So we're having this conversation. By the way, you can thank him for today's show because this is where it came from, right? So I'm having a conversation with him about his friends. And I said, well, mommy and daddy, we send you to Taekwondo for what? He looks at me. He's like, so I can defend myself. I said, exactly. Now, defending yourself is not just something you do physically. Like defending yourself has to be something that you learn to do emotionally and mentally and spiritually. And he kind of looks at me. I'm like, so can any of your friends that are making fun of you beat you wrestling? That's what I ask them, right? Like when you guys are, roughhousing, you know how boys do. Like, can they get you down or do you get them down? He's like, nah, they can't beat me. I'm like, okay, right? And one of the reasons they can't beat him because his father's intentional, right? Like, let you know how to throw hands. So let's be clear, he knows how to do all that, right? So So probably too good. Gotta sometimes gotta calm them down, right? So I'm like, okay. So they can't beat you physically, but you don't want to go to school because they've conquered you emotionally and mentally. So they own you mentally and emotionally right now. And he's looking at me and I can tell like now the tears are drying up. He don't like that. He like, wait a second. Like I can see it clicking. You know where I'm going? And I'm like, so you don't want to go to your school because of how they make you feel emotionally and mentally? And he like, and now he's having a different, now you see the conversation begins to shift because he's thinking about it. He like, yeah, that's not cool. I'm like, they might as well be able to beat you physically then. If they can beat you mentally and emotionally, this is the conversation I'm having with my 6-year-old son. And I'm like, what are we going to do about that? I'm like, because you can't just let anybody, and as I'm saying this, I'm like tapping him on his chest with his heart. You can't just let anybody get here. And then I grab the side of his head, and you can't let anybody just get here, right? I'm like, part of you being strong and able to defend yourself is not just physical. Part of you being able to defend yourself is multidimensional. You have to be able to defend yourself, not just physically, but you also have to be able to defend yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. This is when it clicks for him, right? And I say, and the best defense is your offense. Like being in front of it, knowing what they're going to say. So tomorrow when you go to school, what are they going to say to you? Oh, I ain't going to say her name because you get mad if he is listening. So-and-so likes you, right? And what do you say to that? So what? So what if she likes me, right? So I coach him. He feels better. We go upstairs. You know, your mom's got that look. You okay? You know, I'm good. You know, he's tough again, right? All right, man. It's right before bed. Put him down. Next day, no conversations. And then after that, I'm thinking, man, I just gave my 6-year-old son a lesson that I don't think I ever got. I had to figure it out. I had to figure out how to stay on the offensive, you know, through mentally and emotionally getting beat up. I had to figure out how to stay on the offensive in my life. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is this level of strategic offense, like strategic offense. Because, so last week we talked about urgency. Like most of us aren't urgently concerned with our health until we have to react to something that's going on. Like most of us aren't urgently concerned about our finances until we get the big bill. We're like, oh, wait a second, I can't afford it. We're not urgently concerned with our finances until inflation hits. Hello, right? We're not urgent about most things in life. We just react. And so how can we get to a point where we're no longer just reacting, but more so we've become masterful at strategically creating an offense for how we show up mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That's what I want to talk about today. Strategic offense. How do we play physical offense? Because let's be clear that right now I think most of us are playing physical defense, like, oh, okay, that's not organic. You know, I'm like, you get where I'm going? That's not organic. And so we're kind of trying to figure it out. And I think that's more like we've been like playing defense. Like, okay, maybe am I supposed to do this or that? And it's like it's in the moment, right? It's in the grocery store making a decision. Like that's defense. Let's be clear. Like they got their strategy. We're already a little behind. How do we, and we're going to talk about that, right? How do we play emotional offense? Especially in a world where the media is emotionally manipulating us. By the way, the strategic weapon they use is fear. And then once they overload you with fear, you can't think straight. Now you're reacting from a place of fear. That's not the best place for us to be reacting. Not the best place for us to be moving in the world. Right? And by the way, when you are overcome with fear, as many of us are, let's be clear. Many of us, if you sit up and watch the news, like it is like just doused in fear. I mean, it's 75% fear, if not more, maybe 90% fear. It is hard to sit there and not feel your blood pressure rise. Like, Lord, what am I? Like television literally killing us. So then how do you play emotional offense in an environment like that? Because most of us are playing emotional defense. I'm going to tell you how I know, because after you watch the segment, you get up from the couch and you go, whew, right? Like they took you out. Like you're not, at that point, that sigh is defense. They took you out. How do we get to a point where we're playing mental offense? Mental offense. I also believe that part of mental offense is not even watching the news. Like, I'm too busy creating my mental strategic plan to be trying to, learn or allow you to emotionally manipulate me. And then last but definitely not least, spiritual offense. I think sometimes what happens to us spiritually is we find ourselves overwhelmed emotionally, physically, and mentally, right? And then that's when we try to tap in spiritually. Again, we're reacting. I need it. Like, I'm guilty. I need help right now, right? That's the prayer. Right now, Lord. Right now. Right now. Right? And it's like, man, what if I had tapped in a week ago? You get where I'm going? Like a month ago. What if I lived tapped in? Like, then what? Then what? So that's what I want to talk about. These 4 areas where we should be playing strategic offense for successful living. So let's start with the physical. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on physical. I think that most of us know what it is that we should be doing. Some of us need a reminder. Some of us just aren't going to do it. And then there's a small percentage of folks who have a story that they can't. They have a story that it just, this pain won't ever go away. And we live within the stories we tell ourselves. Like for you, I really want you to hear me. We live within the stories that we tell ourselves. So when it comes to you physically, what's your story? Well, I come from a family of folks that look like this, and this is just kind of how it is, and so then that's kind of how it will be. Like, what's your story? We, as human beings, are the best justifiers in the universe. We can justify just about anything. Just about anything. We can justify horrors, i.e., just look around you right now. Watch the news a little bit and see how the anchors are justifying horrors that are taking place on the other side of the globe. Like, it's okay because of the type of people they're associated with. Like, we can justify anything. Like, since when is a loss of life anywhere justifiable? Since when? On what merit? On what ground? In what world? But we'll justify just about anything. So if we can justify that, then I can justify where I have physical gaps. Oh, this just kind of always been this way. Oh, I got diagnosed with this early on. Like, these are so just, this is the way it's going to be. Even though we know that physical offense is regular exercise and physical activity. You get where I'm going? Like, even though we know that the best offense physically is regular exercise and physical activity, and then healthy nutrition and adequate rest. Like, this is nothing that almost everybody listening to me, unless it's a child who's like, oh, that's why I have to sleep, right? Knows this. We know this. But have we created a strategic plan in our lives? Like, have we really gone on the offense when it comes to how we show up physically? Now, we could take it a little deeper. Physical offense could be external grooming, physical strength and endurance. I'm just saying now, like, just regular exercise and activity. But let's something go sideways. You got to run, like, real fast. Maybe there's 30 seconds. 30 seconds to get away. Like most of us, that would be the last day. Most of us that would be the last day. Right? And it's like, why? When we go over to Ghana, there's a brother who, I think he just turned 70, who leads a dance troupe at the School of the Deaf and Blind. And this brother, see, because we got excuses over here. Like, oh, well, I'm a young man, I've been here 6 decades, right? And like, so we got excuses. This brother who leads this dance troupe dances for 75% of their shows. And he does it with a drum on his chest. Right? Beating the drum the whole time and dancing. With the young people, right? Going up and down. He's the one that inspired me to handle my knees when my knees were hurting. If this man can do it, right? I saw him going up and down. I said, Jesus, I'm not even 50 yet, right? You get me going? I couldn't imagine going up and down like that, right? It's like physical offense. Like, how can I get on the offensive with that? Because if I don't make it better, it only gets worse. Physical offense. Hey, Tony, before you go, I want to share this just to encourage you.
Yeah.
Resistance only shows up at the level of the possibility that's generated. So consider that Ghana generated brand new possibilities for you. And that's why a new level of resistance showed up in your life.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I just talked about this with the Slayer Goals members on Thursday evening. One of the things, brother, that you have to do is you have to lean into the resistance. It's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever resistance is showing up, transform your relationship to it. And here's what I mean by transforming your relationship to it. Consider that it's there because something phenomenal is on the other side. So when you see it, thank God for it. Ooh, look at you. You want to make this difficult because there's something phenomenal on the other side. So whatever that is, like, that's the prayer, right? Help me navigate this.
Yeah.
Help me lean into this because there's something phenomenal on the other side of all this resistance I'm feeling.
Yes. And I'll share this one last piece. For me, being at a job for 13 and a half years, I made a vocational courage move to another opportunity.
Okay.
And I decided on that when I was in Ghana, that I have served my purpose here, and my value is not being acknowledged or recognized.
Mm-hmm.
What I've learned over time, specifically from you on this show, never make a decision out of emotion. Make a decision out of planning.
Yeah.
And make sure your purpose
That's right.
is attached to that planning.
Yes.
And I have been moving in that direction mightily.
Wonderful.
And I did want to share that because I knew when I had to go to Ghana because I was beginning to get enraged. But that trip set me on an identity path of understanding who I am with a Christian lens that's not from a Western world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's not with Eurocentric theology. But it was also empowering to say, you're in a situation, only you can pull yourself out of it. And I went plotting and I went planning strategically. And the opportunity came the way that nobody told me to do it. They said, use your network, use all your connections, have people make phone calls for you. None of that happened. And I believe it didn't happen because I was intent on a change that I needed in my life. And Jah has blessed like I cannot imagine.
Love it.
Now it's like, how do I put myself in a position? I don't want, and I'm not knocking anybody, but if God has more work for me to do, and I know he does, I can no longer afford to ignore the physical part of my responsibility of this physical temple being in the best shape to do the best work.
Yeah, brother.
For my best purpose.
Yes.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
And let me say this, too. The other reason we need you in the best physical shape is because we need our black men to last as long as possible. Brothers like you, we need you to be here for the next 4, 5, 6 decades, as long as possible. You feel me? And so,
yes, sir.
Man, that's why I'm so passionate about it, man. And just imagine, like, brothers like you, me, other God-fearing men who are able to show up not just spiritually, but powerfully, physically, mentally, and emotionally. That's what we need, brother. Man, I love you.
Bless you.
Thanks for the phone call.
Too, bro.
Yeah, man.
You got it.
I want to get to the topic that you talked about. A person can be triggered. You're talking about this defense mechanism, I think it was, emotionally, physically, and all this. Well, these days, the one that really hit me first, you say we're often triggered by the news. Well, if every day in what used to be much safer hometown for a lot of us than it is now, in a way, how could we not be? And at the same time, you see how you get advertisements over radio and other media to become a concealed carry person. Then we see at nighttime, young people, they do the most heinous things, and more often these days, they get away with it. But wouldn't that make a person think, hey, man, I don't want to leave here like that, or nor do I want my loved one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would think it's just a natural response for some of us that have been here, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And we've seen this change, and this change makes us feel, hey, where can we go? I mean, it's not fair to us, And another thing, you were talking about this. What if a relationship is maybe kind of not going through a rough patch? So the two people, they may be triggered, right?
Yeah.
One feels like, hey, my kindness or whatever I'm giving is not being reciprocated. I'm feeling taken advantage of. So a person's going to be more. An argument might get started more often,
Yeah.
Because the two people they're not sure what's going on, or they're not not feeling appreciated. That'll really do it. And the last one at work, you're in the atmosphere. You've seen people sometimes as soon as the lunch bell rings, they immediately just may go sit in the car or take off. Because the atmosphere is not, they don't like it or whatever. They don't like the boss. They don't like this person they got to work with. So with that premise you gave at the beginning, at some point, you're going to automatically go to a defense mode, like you were giving the example about your young son. He's ready to put the hands up. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. So
I completely follow. You mind holding while we walk through these? Because
yes,
you got
sir.
three of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go with fear first, since you started there, right? This idea that we live in this incredibly dangerous, uncertain, unpredictable world.
Every day, brother.
And we're broadcasting from Chicago. People are listening all over the world. But for those of us in the United States, we are in many ways, more at risk of a violent death than most folks outside the United States. Let's be clear.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, isn't that interesting? This is what they call the best nation in the world. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, brother. But I just want to normalize what you just shared.
Okay.
Because it's real. And this is one of the reasons that I believe, like, we're going to talk about going on the spiritual offensive, like playing offense spiritually.
It'll work for all those scenarios you're saying.
Well, let's go through them one by one.
Okay.
Because, yes, there are horrible things happening all around me. But if I know that I serve an all-powerful creator who has given me a purpose on this planet, and I know that his will always be done, and I believe this. And I don't know if you're a believer, brother. Are you a believer?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I know that his will be done. I know that I'm aligned with his purpose. And as I stay aligned with my purpose, then my integrity, right, in alignment with the Creator is intact.
Okay.
That when I pray, and I pray for protection of my family and all those that we love, that prayer extends a force field around folks who don't even know that they are protected. Like, See, here's the thing. Do you believe that?
Well, you're right. Good point. And I'll say this, because I guess, we say we believe in God. We hope to grow and get better in knowing Him. But we're everything we do basically is in the physical. So that's how we're going to naturally respond, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're not playing spiritual offense.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll listen.
But I want to go through each of these, okay? Because fear, the thing about fear is insidious. And what happens is it creeps into our mental space, our emotional space. It wreaks physical havoc, and it disconnects us spiritually. That's what fear does. And we have to get to a point where I know the Creator that I serve is more powerful than anything else out here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The prayer has to the prayer is not just for protection. The prayer is also for awareness. The prayer is also for guidance, right? So in the decisions that I make, I'm prayerful. Let me tell you something, brother. There are times where I'm driving, I can take two ways. I don't just go, well, this is the fastest way. I go, God, which way should I take? See, because I don't know if route number 2 is the avoidance of something that could have happened. You get where I'm going?
Yes.
And because I know I live in this dangerous world where I don't have full control, then I'm giving control to Him, even sometimes when it comes down to, do I make a left or do I make a right? There's traffic right here.
Yeah.
Should I get off on Costner going home or should I just stay in this traffic? You get where I'm going, brother?
Oh, yes. I've lived around Costner for a while.
Right. And there's times where it's like, take Costner. You get home quicker. You can be with your family. And I feel complete freedom in that. Complete freedom. I can drive with confidence. There's other times it's like, stay on the expressway, Linnell. And I feel it in my spirit. Now, who am I to go against that? And it's when we go against those type of things, because we're not playing spiritual offense, we get in trouble.
True. Yeah, using sound judgment.
Yeah. So that's number one, just around the fear. Now, here's the other thing. If I'm willing to give the news 60 minutes, do I give 60 minutes to God?
Wow.
Because they just basically disconnected me for 60 minutes. Now I need to go get reconnected. All these things happen in the world. Like, I need you to help me. I need you to pour into me. I need you to support me mentally. I need you to support me emotionally. I got my family I have to protect, right? I can only protect them in one direction.
That's right.
So I need you to have my back. I need you to, to walk with my son when I'm not there. I need you to walk with my wife when I'm not there. Right? Like, am I having that conversation? Am I having that prayer?
Yeah. Now I know why my grandmother used to say she would pray for me when I was living here.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, and see, that prayer had your back in ways that you probably can't even begin to imagine.
Wow.
So then now, are you doing that for yours?
No, I'll be honest. You get caught up in the survival thing, which and trying to do better. Get an extra $10 bill in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Times a million. So you get caught up in that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. Then being a guy, a single guy for a while, you chasing affection. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I get you. I get you.
You get distracted.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this world.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this. That's one of the reasons. And no condemnation at all. No judgment, brother. It's one of the reasons I got married, so I could focus. Now, the other thing he asked about was work. Right? It's the same thing. Like, in our work, most of us are dissatisfied because, one, it's disconnected from our purpose. And we give so much credence to the physical dimension. And this is why, like today, talking about going on the offense, like, if you're dissatisfied at work, most of us, we don't even think of going on spiritual offense. There was a time where things were so stressful at work, like the games that were being played, specifically against me, that I would have to go sit in my office and play Fred Hammond, Jesus Be Offense, and just sit there and let that song soak into my cellular being before I went to my next meeting. Like, spiritual offense. You get where I'm going? Like, we trying to play some of these games all by ourselves. For what? If I was a wrestler and I had a tag team partner that was 10 times my size, 10 times stronger, could whip everybody, why would I sit in the ring and get my butt handed to me and not tag them in? But most of us are in the ring, and our partner, the creator, is like, tag me in, right? Tag me in. And we like, oh, like we're in a headlock saying, I got it. I think I got it. I think I'm going to take another drink. That'll help. I'm going to have another smoke. That'll help. Nah, man. So we talked about physical offense. Let's talk about emotional offense. If I'm going to play emotional offense, I have to develop my self-confidence competence. Let me say it again. If I'm going to play emotional offense, I have to develop my self-confidence competence. There was a time where I lacked confidence. There's no way I could play the game I'm playing today if I hadn't developed it. And I know I say things sometimes and folks are like, this guy is lying. You had to know me back then. I reached out to a woman she's a president of a company now, but I remember presenting across from her in corporate America, and I was just rattled. And I remember her looking up at me. She had these eyes like, oh, man. And she felt so sorry for me. She's like one of the people I want to bring on the show. So just to tell, like, y'all know this is true. You know where I'm going? Well, she can actually describe how it went down. Self-confidence is a competence. It can be developed. It can be developed. One of the ways to develop it is spiritual offense. Because when you realize that big bro is behind you, you get where I'm going? When you realize big bro is behind you, you have a different swag, right? A different level of confidence if I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. When you're aligned with your purpose spiritually and you know this is what you're supposed to do, like it pushes you in areas, it forces you to be confident in areas where otherwise you wouldn't have been. Self-confidence is a competence that can be developed. And when you are moving with a certain level of personal and professional confidence, it fortifies you emotionally. Because even when you fail, you have the confidence that you can get back up and do it again. You can get back up and do it again. And what self-confidence does is it changes your mental narrative. See, now we're going on the offense because when my mental narrative has shifted, then I'm looking at what went well. I'm looking at my strengths and saying, that presentation didn't go that well, but I kicked it off nicely. Like I'm focused on the things that are going to actually help me grow versus on the areas where I feel like I dropped the ball. And not ignoring them, but realizing that I can leverage my talents and strengths to pull me up in the areas where I know I need to do better. Positive self-talk, right? Emotional offense is giving yourself the positive pep talk before you even encounter anything, before you even go into the day. You are God's child. You're capable. You are worthy because you breathe. Like having that conversation is emotional and in many ways mental offense. Some of us go out into the world so unprepared. And then when we come home with our tail between our legs, we wonder why. We wonder why. You knew it wasn't friendly when you left the house. You knew they weren't going to roll out the red carpet for you when you showed up. Like you knew this. So why aren't you playing offense? Why aren't you playing emotional offense? The other piece around emotional offense is adaptability. We got to be more flexible. The slightest thing takes you out. And going back to what the brother was saying around relationship, I believe one of the reasons relationships are suffering is because most people are not emotionally resilient, and relationships require emotional resiliency. Relationships require emotional regulation. What is emotional regulation? The ability to manage what I'm feeling. Right now, again, my son is 6 years old. My wife and I, we're working with him, right, on emotional regulation, practices. He'll get, like, hey, son, slow down. Take a deep breath. Okay. All right. Now, think about what you're feeling. Is it going to help you move to this next? Like, you get where I'm going? Like, actually walking him through that. Social emotional learning. SEL. Like, some of us, we didn't get that. So now as adults, we should be practicing that. You should be on emotional offense, practicing that, putting yourself around the people you trust and love in situations where you have to emotionally regulate, giving them the green light to support you in that. Emotional offense. The other thing is the ability to cognitively reframe what's happening. I don't think most of us realize that there's always another lens. Everything that we're experiencing is going through our default lens. Whatever lens you came up with, your life experiences, your traumas, everything, that's the first lens we see most things with, especially when we're stressed out, especially when we're tired, especially when we're scared. If I'm afraid of what might happen to me if I give my heart fully in relationship, then I'm going to be skeptical. I'm going to be looking at everything that my woman does. Let me tell you a story real quick about cognitive reframing. This happened to me. So my wife and I, when we got into a relationship, 8 months we were engaged, etc. And I wouldn't say that being engaged that quickly, I had second thoughts, but I did have fears. Like, did I move too fast? Do I fully know this woman? A little bit before we got engaged, we were still dating at the time. I remember my wife went out with her sisters. It's a Friday evening. She called me up. I think we were planning to hang out. And she calls me up. And she says, hey, I got my weekends mixed up. My sisters and our friend, we had something planned this evening. I'm really sorry, but, I'm going to do this, right? You cool with that? Yeah, every guy's going to say yeah, right? Yeah. Of course, my feelings were a little hurt. Like, oh, man, I thought I was spending the evening with my woman. And now, she's off and about. And I didn't have plans. So here I am, Friday night. I don't have plans. And I go about my evening. I decided just to stay in, get some food, go get something I like to eat and maybe watch a movie or something like that. And halfway through the evening, I said, let me, see how she's doing. So I give my girlfriend, who's now my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, I give her a phone call. And the phone goes direct to voicemail. It's Friday night. She's supposed to be with her sisters. I mean, she could pick up. Goes direct to voicemail, right? Now, what happens? Most folks already know. What happens, Ide? What would you, what happens for you emotionally? Paranoid a little bit? Like, okay. You're like, that's interesting. Right? By the way, what we're talking about is emotional resiliency, the ability to cognitively reframe. Okay? So I'm like, that's interesting. Phone went straight to voicemail. So you know how sometimes the phones do that. To make sure I'm not tripping, I call again. All right? I call her again. Phone goes straight to voicemail. I leave a message. Hey, babe, this is Linnell. I was just calling to check in on you. Leaving you this message. Your phone went straight to voicemail, Give me a phone call back when you get the message. And then I think a reasonable time is about 60 minutes. Right? Reasonable time. People walk around tethered to their cell phones these days. Like, she should see the voicemail pop up. 60 minutes goes by. Looking at the clock. And now I can feel my emotions getting the best of me. Right? This is Pam. Pam's like, this is my first time hearing this story. This is a story I tell my clients. I don't know if I ever told Pam this story. So now I'm like, okay, I'm getting played. Now, how I came to that conclusion that quick, right? Right? And we're talking about emotional resiliency, right? I'm like, I'm getting played, man. Like, no, I ain't about to get played. Like, man, she ain't called me back. Like, okay, so she changed plans at the last minute. Then I call, go straight to voicemail, right? It's been 60 minutes since I left the voicemail. I ain't getting nothing back. I'm sitting in this house by myself, like a lame. I'm sitting in the house like a little lame, waiting on her to call me. No, and then you got to look in the mirror. Who's your boy? That's not how we get down. I'm taking a shower. I'm going out. I'm about to get in these streets, right? First thing, and I literally get in the shower. I lay my clothes out. Man, I'm about to get in the street. I ain't about to get played like that and just sitting in the house. Anyway, so I get in the shower. I'm getting dressed when I get a phone call. Her sister name pop up. What's her sister calling me for? Sister, pick the phone up. It's Pam. She's like, hey, babe. I think it was her sister. Her sister was like, hey, Pam wanted you to know that her phone is in her car charging. It went out. So if you need something, call my phone. Now, mind you, I got on my sexy Friday night go out gear at this point, right? I'm about to hit the streets. And she's like, she just wanted you to, she's like, hey, babe, from the background, And I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, man, I created this whole story. I created a whole story due to my stuff. My stuff, right? It had nothing to do with her. It all me, my inability to cognitively reframe what was going on. When I tell you that this is one of the main things that hurts us emotionally, is the stories we tell ourselves that most of the time, 98% of them are not true. And I tell that story to my clients who, like, in terms of the power of a story. I was about to go out and act a fool. Probably not. I was probably going, you know how it goes, right? Probably would have went, sat down, got a drink, and felt sorry for myself. And then got the phone call out, like, you out? Like, oh, oh, yeah. Well, I didn't know you were going out, me either. Man, let me tell you, emotional offense, emotional control, emotional resiliency, the ability to cognitively reframe, and self-confidence. Self-confidence. And this leads into mental offense. See, because most of it's happening up here. Most of it's happening up here. Okay? Somebody just said they just blocked the man for the same thing. And it's like, are you sure that's what? Like, you get where I'm going? Like, the stories we tell. We'll tell and it's all based on what happened. I've been played before. And then most of us say, never again. Never again. Right? And it's like, it's difficult to be in a romantic, loving, connected, and intimate relationship without being completely vulnerable, period. And I believe that most marriages are struggling because you have vowed to give yourself fully to that person, but you still haven't. You're still holding onto a little thread of, you get where I'm going? Of I'm going to protect myself, even though you're not even protected. You're not protected. You got children by this person. It don't even make sense anymore. Now you're just messing up the relationship. But we believe, because we're not playing emotional offense, that we're making the right choice. Because one of the things we talked about resilience is more so mental than it is emotional. Allowing my mental to dictate my emotions. And the thing about resiliency is that it actually gives me the opportunity to cognitively reframe and choose a different story. Like, maybe the character doesn't get knocked down this time. Maybe when the character gets up, the character being me, the character being you, he or she wins. Like, what stories are you telling yourself mentally? Can you, in terms of the percentage of positive versus negative outlook, are you, and by the way, if you're playing 50-50, you're not winning. I hope we get that. Well, 50% of the time I have a positive outlook, you're not winning. And I'm not talking about being Pollyannish. I'm not talking about being, stupid and gullible. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm paying attention to the signs. But at the same time, I have a positive outlook. And the reason I have a positive outlook is because I am a child of God. I am aligned with my purpose. I do believe that all things work together for good for them that love God. I believe that to my core. And so because I believe that, you can throw stones, maybe one or two will hit, but you can't take me out. Like mental resilience. Mental resilience. Notice how so far all of the dimensions reconnect to spiritual offense, physical offense, emotional offense, mental offense. In the story I told you about Pam, you notice how not one time I got on my knees and prayed. Not one time that I say, okay, God, I know you gave me this woman. What's going on? Not one time that I check in spiritually. Not one time. I can tell you I didn't. Like, I did not. I was like, oh, I ain't about to get what? You ain't calling me? Oh, I don't got to be in it. Not one time I say, I believe you gave me this woman. What's going on here? Help me. Man. Whew. Mental offense is taking on emotional intelligence practices. Do you know that you can develop emotional intelligence? Like, even if you don't have it, you can actually develop it by practicing it. That's mental offense. Actually taking the time to read about emotional intelligence, learn about emotional intelligence, take on emotional intelligent practices. By the way, emotional intelligence will give to you over and over again. Everything at work gets better. Everything in your relationship gets better. You get better. Your physical health gets better. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage your emotions and, listen to this, the ability to understand and manage your emotions and the emotions of others. Now think about that. When I can be fully responsible, not just for my emotions, but also have the ability to emotionally impact someone else in the way that I choose. Here's what's happening in the world now. There's like an elite 5% that are emotionally controlling the other 95. And because people lack emotional intelligence, they don't even realize they're being emotionally controlled. When I talked about the media earlier, do you think that they're like, oh my God, we're making you afraid? That's not, we never intended to do that. We didn't want you to be afraid. We were just trying to tell you everything that's going on. Do you think that's a mistake? Or that there's an emotionally intelligent executive producer who is saying, hey, when we hit him with this, then we're going to run the advertisement for anxiety. You think this stuff is by mistake? There's a reason why the elite are the elite. They're playing offense. Let you sit with that for a moment. While we're playing defense, trying to figure out why we're losing ground. Because they already got a plan to push you back. What's your plan to gain ground and move forward? Like, what's your offensive plan in the world? And by the way, one of the reasons we don't have time for strategic planning is because they've already arranged all the entertainment that takes you out of your strategic offense. Now, just in case they get smart and they want to plan, let's drop another, 10 episode Netflix special. Make it provocative. Make it provocative. Everybody will be talking about it. They'll have no time for strategic offense. Whew. And then we're going to wear them out at work. So we're going to wear them out so that the only thing they can do is slump on the couch and watch this. And then when they're really tired, we'll hit them with all the medical commercials, make them think something's wrong with them. And then when we have them on the medicine, they'll get sicker. And then they'll fill our hospitals and our coffers. Man, if this doesn't make you angry, like sometimes, like, you know, so the emotional like my emotional intelligence strategic play here is to get you upset. I hope you're like, what the? You know, like just a little, and that dissatisfaction actually pushes you. It's deep enough that you're like, I'm going to make some strategic changes. Here's the last piece of mental offense. Mindfulness and self-awareness. See, because when you become self-aware, like when you cultivate self-awareness, you begin to ask yourself questions. You get a little more curious. Why did I react to this that way? What's going on for me that I'm not being strategically offensive? What is it that I might need to change? Where might I need to deploy the time to think about the things that Linnell is talking about today? Like self-awareness, mindfulness. You know, maybe I do need some time where I'm just sitting. You see, it's nice outside now, like just sitting on the patio and thinking about the next move. I don't have to be doing anything. I don't have to be scrolling on the phone. Just staring out at the trees, staring out at the beauty of God's creation, connecting with Him, and strategically thinking about the next move. Like, since when did that become out of style? Since when did that not become the play? Yesterday, my wife asked me, she was like, why are you doing work in the yard? Why you just didn't hire somebody? Sometimes you just need, like, I need to touch the grass. I need to be in my head. I need to be connected with the earth and just thinking about everything that's going on, all the moving parts. Like in her mind, she's like, he's out there wasting time. No, not this time, baby. I said, no, not this time. I know how to hire folks. Not this time. Like I just needed, you know, to check in with myself, be strategic, be thinking, be mindful, enhance my focus, improve my decision making. Mental offense.
I believe what has happened is that we have taken God out of the relationship, because even with a marriage, God, husband and wife, that's how it goes. No mother-in-law, no daughter. No, a relationship, a marital relationship is between a husband. God is control of the husband control of the wife, and the husband and wife and everything makes a family.
So Darva, let me pause you real quick. Like, what is it that I'm listening to you, and I'm tracking, and I'm curious, like, what is the point you want the audience to take away? Because you covered a lot of ground. What is the point that you want the audience to take away?
I want the people in this world, especially black people, is to go back to the Creator. Go back and do it His way with Yahweh. Even if it's relationship, no matter anything, I want people to, now some people might say, well, I don't believe in the Bible, I don't believe in God. Well, now you know I'm not talking to you. Because if you don't believe in God in the Bible, then, or Yahweh, I don't know what else to say. You just have to do it your way.
Yeah.
But
So let me. I got 3 minutes left on the show.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So
okay,
no,
go ahead.
You're okay. You're okay. I mean, I heard the passion, and I want to. The last point of offense is spiritual offense.
Yeah.
And everything you said, like, you know, I get. And one of the questions I was asking you, why? Why is fornication bad? Why is sex before marriage, you know, something you shouldn't do? Why? Because
it's
hold on. That was rhetorical. And the reason I was asking it is because we know these things. Okay? We know. What we don't understand are the implications. It's one thing to know the law. It's another thing to understand why the law exists.
Thank you.
And I believe that that is what's fundamentally missing. See, here's the thing, Darva, and I'm going to end the show with this. Thank you so much for the phone call.
God bless you.
I'm going to end the show with this. One of the things that spiritual connection provides is the why. If when I were taught, I grew up in church. If when I was taught, someone took the time to explain why, and I also believe one of the reasons we're not taught why is because a lot of people who preach the law don't know why. They just know it's wrong, and you just need to trust it. But here is the rub I have with that. We don't live in the 19th century. We don't live in the 20th century anymore. We live in the 21st century where sex is being pushed at a rate that I have never seen. So you can't tell somebody to do not to do something one time when they're told that doing it okay is 20 times. Like, you get where I'm going? Like, how you gonna win that? How humans don't operate that way. And as spiritual teachers and leaders, I'm talking to the pastors now, you got to get to a point where you're spiritually connected, where you can actually articulate why. What sex does to a human being. See, most of us don't know. So think that it comes without consequence, and we don't realize that if that person is struggling with something physically, emotionally, and mentally, that a spiritual connection, a spiritual portal, can pass it straight to me. Start educating people on that, and they might think twice. Hey, my inspired peoples, Linnell Harris here, certified ontological coach and trainer. I'm so excited that you're watching the channel. By the way, did you know you can catch the show live at 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. every Sunday morning? You can. All you have to do is go to my Facebook stream, Coach Linnell Harris, catch the stream live, or you can listen to the radio show via iHeart at WVON 1690 AM. But since you're here, if you love the content, I ask that you share it, like this particular video, and subscribe to the channel. I hope you're having a great day.